Let's get into the story of Arav. He's a young writer and he's looking for some serious inspiration. So what does he do? He makes a pretty fateful decision. He decides to move into this old, abandoned mansion. Now this isn't just any house. This is Kaali Haveli, a place that has a really dark reputation, a place that people only whisper about but would never, ever dare to visit.
And that right there, that's the chilling warning the local villagers give him. This isn't just a friendly suggestion, it's a final, desperate plea. They know the mansion's secret, and they're basically watching a man walk willingly into a trap that, so far, no one has ever returned from. So, who exactly is our main character? Well, Arav is a writer who's just trying to get away from all the noise of the city. He's on the hunt for that perfect spot to write his next big story, and he really, truly thinks he's found it in this imposing, totally isolated place called Kaali Haveli. And this is where it all starts, right? The huge disconnect. On one side, you have what Arav expects to find, this dream scenario with perfect silence, zero distractions, and maybe, just maybe, some spooky inspiration for his book. And on the other side, well, that's the grim reality the villagers warned him about, a place that's not about peace, but about pure terror. This is the real turning point, isn't it? Arav hears all the warnings, but his ambition, that drive to be a great writer, it just blinds him. He doesn't see a threat, he sees a story. And so, he walks right through that open door, and with that one single step, he pretty much seals his fate. So Arav is in. He gets his desk all set up, he's ready to write. But, the mansion has some other plans for him. The peace he was so desperately looking for gets shattered almost right away, as the haunting starts to kick in, getting worse night after night. You can just see how fast things start to spiral out of control. It begins with something small, a faint sound he could probably dismiss. But by the third night, wow, the haunting becomes direct, it becomes personal, and it becomes terrifyingly real. Okay, just picture this for a second. It is 2 o'clock in the morning, it is dead silent. And then, out of nowhere, you hear this faint whisper, a woman crying. Arav gets up, he checks the doors, the windows, everything is locked up tight, so the sound isn't coming from outside. No, it's coming from inside the room with him.
And right as he's trying to process that impossible sound, he looks up. For just a split second, he sees it, this human-shaped shadow, completely inverted, hanging from the ceiling like a bat. He completely panics, turns to run, and when he dares to look back, it's gone.
The next day, he's exploring and finds an old burned diary, and inside he reads this absolutely terrifying passage. So you have to wonder, right? Is this just some piece of fiction that a previous tenant left behind? Or is it a very, very real warning from someone who didn't make it out?
That night, any doubt he might have had just completely vanishes. First, a voice whispers to him, "You are my tenant now, you are mine," and then this message appears on the wall, and it looks like it's written in fresh blood. The threat isn't subtle anymore, it's a direct promise of vengeance.
Because, see, this isn't just some random haunting. There's a history here, a really deep tragedy that is fueling all the rage inside Kaali Haveli, and Arav is just about to learn the awful truth behind it all. An old village pundit, a religious elder, actually comes to see Arav. This guy is basically the keeper of the local history, and he tells Arav the story of the spirit, the story of a woman who didn't just die in that mansion, she was murdered there. The whole core of this tragedy is really this three-step curse. First, she was betrayed and then murdered by the one person in the world she was supposed to trust. Now her spirit is trapped in this endless loop of vengeance, seeing her husband's face in every single man who enters her home, and she's just destined to repeat her own fiery death on them. Okay, so this is the moment. He has the full story now, the clearest possible warning. The logical thing, the sane thing to do is run. But that writer in him, that need to see how the story ends, it makes him stay. He decides he's going to face the ghost, and that decision is going to define the end of his story.
And so here we are, the final confrontation. Arav is chosen to stay for the 4th night, and the mansion and the spirit inside it, well, they've been waiting for this moment.
All of a sudden, the entire mansion is just plunged into absolute darkness. The air gets cold and completely still. The silence is just deafening. Arav manages to light a single candle, and that's when he hears it.
A soft tapping sound from behind his door. Tap, tap, tap. And then, with this agonizingly slow creak, the door just swings open all by itself.
and standing in the doorway is a figure, a woman with tangled hair and scorched, burnt skin.
The spirit speaks, and her voice is just filled with centuries of pure rage. In her eyes, Arav isn't a writer. He is her treacherous husband, and he is returned to suffer the exact same fate. She believes he is the one who burned her, and now, she's going to return the favor.
As she starts moving towards him, Arav scrambles for that burnt diary. In his panic, he finds a final scribbled message on the very last page. It's a desperate solution. To survive, he has to give her back what was stolen from her, her identity.
He shouts her name, Payal. He apologizes, but not as her husband, but as a complete stranger who's just stumbled into her tragedy. He begs for her forgiveness, hoping that just by naming her, by acknowledging her truth, it might be enough to finally break the cycle. And then, everything just goes silent. So the confrontation is over, and all that's left is silence. But what did that silence actually mean? Did Arav's desperate plea even work? The next morning, the villagers, well, they would discover the answer.
When the villagers finally work up the courage to go inside the haveli, they find it completely empty. There's no sign of Arav anywhere, no sign of a struggle. He has simply vanished. But he did leave something behind, a brand new diary, with his name right there on the cover.
And on the final page of Arav's own diary, this is the last entry, written in what looks like blood. So what does this really mean? Did Arav finish his story, only to become a permanent part of the mansion's eternal one? It seems the spirit got her tenant, but her hunger for vengeance is still there, which really makes you wonder, who's going to be the next tenant?